Good evening. This is a regular meeting of the Princeton Planning Board, and it is Thursday, May 7th, 2020. And the opening statement is as follows. Pursuant to Section 13 of the Open Public Meetings Act, adequate notice of the time and place of this meeting has been given by prominently posting the 2020 resolution of the regularly scheduled meetings of the Planning Board of Princeton. A copy has been filed with the Clerk of Princeton on the 8th day of December 2019. Legal notice on the adoption of said resolution appeared in the December 2019 edition of the Princeton Packet. Notice of this meeting has been filed with the Clerk of Princeton on the 8th day of April and has been posted to the municipal website, which is www.princetonnewjersey.gov meetings. Choose the planning tab to view it. Pursuant to Executive Order 107, due to the state of emergency in New Jersey regarding COVID-19 coronavirus, notice that during the declared state of emergency, all regular and special meetings of the Princeton Planning Board will be held electronically via Zoom. This was transmitted to the Princeton Packet, Town Topics, the Times, and was filed with the Clerk of Princeton on the 8th day of April 2020. Such notices have been placed on the official bulletin board at Princeton Municipal Complex and on the Princeton website in order to be maintained throughout the year, and by transmitting a copy of the same to the Princeton Packet, Town Topics, the Times, Trentonian, Comcast Media, and by filing a copy thereof with the Clerk of Princeton. Notices have also been placed on all the window doors of the municipal complex. Let me add that during the hearings, as with regular in-person meetings, members of the public will have an opportunity at a specific point in the proceedings to comment and ask questions. Please be aware that this meeting is being recorded. Those wishing to comment orally should virtually raise their hand using the button at the bottom of the right of the participant panel, or if participating by phone, by pressing *9. Oral comments will be taken in the order in which hands were raised, and inappropriate public comments containing obscenity, hate speech, or relating to matters not before the board will immediately be muted. If you are having difficulty accessing this feature, use the Q&A dialog box to let the vice chair or co-host know, and they will try to assist you. I do have a few announcements for this evening. The first is that the planning department is currently advertising for a senior planner. This is online. And the master plan subcommittee is scheduled to meet on Friday, May 22nd at 10 a.m. Discussion will be on the draft proposal for the green buildings and environmental sustainability plan element. Are there any questions on that? I think Carrie will be notifying the members of that committee again. All right, let's move on the agenda to
You should do a roll call, Wanda.
What?
Would you like me to do a roll call?
Okay, yes, please.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Capizoli?
Here.
Mr. Cohen?
Here.
Mr. McGowan?
Here.
Mr. O'Donnell?
Here.
Mr. Quinn? Oh,
Tim, you're muted. You're muted, Tim.
you're muted.
Here.
Thank you. Ms. Sachs?
Here.
Mr. Taxarni?
Here.
Mrs. Wilson?
Here.
And Mrs. Gunning?
Here,
We have a quorum.
thank you.
Carrie, I just wanted to say that for some reason your name is in my screen.
Oh, I will change it.
So I
So I will,
really happy to represent you, but
so would I. Thank you.
Now let's move to the minutes. You should have gotten 3 sets of minutes. The first one is the regular meeting of September 19th, 2019. Anybody have any questions, comments?
I
No?
can't vote on this. I was absent.
Okay. Anyone?
And I was also not part of the board at the time, was not at that meeting.
Well, anyone else on those? Otherwise, all those in favor?
I,
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the next set is a special meeting. It's October 10th, 2019. Anyone?
I have to abstain from this also.
Me as
Ms.
well.
Gunning, I do have a couple of comments.
Okay,
David Cohen. On page 4, in the, let's see, 5th full paragraph, the minutes state that I indicated the council had accepted the site for affordable housing.
this is
And
on page 4. What's the,
it's page 4,
yeah, it's the 3 acre site.
right?
Okay,
And
I've got
Partway
it.
through the paragraph, it says that I indicated that council has accepted the site for affordable housing. Council has not, and I don't believe I represented that at the meeting. I think that's just a mistake, and I think it's important to have the record corrected there.
Okay,
I know Eileen's not here to defend herself, but. And the other,
David,
David,
I did those minutes.
David,
oh, you did? Okay,
My apologies.
do you want to say something?
What you just commented on, should we just take that sentence out? I think that's the best bet.
Yes, I'll take.
okay. And the other comment was on the last page, page 5. There's a statement about the traffic consultant saying that the traffic counts were low, but verging on traffic capacity issues. And I'm not 100% sure what that means, but it gives the impression that the traffic consultant indicated that he thought that there might be traffic problems. And again, I'm pretty sure that's not what the applicant's consultants stated.
Yes, if anything, he said that it was not verging on traffic
Right.
capacity.
So I don't know what's appropriate, if it would be to go back and check the recording or, again, to,
We can hold these if you think it's important.
Well, I think it's sufficient if we just take out the language, but verging on traffic capacity issues.
I would be fine with that.
Okay. Okay, anybody else on that set of minutes? Right, then let's have a vote on that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, and the corrections.
I'm
will
sorry
be-
to interrupt, Madam Chair. This is Louise. I need to abstain from those minutes and from the next ones. I was not around last October.
All right,
Thank you.
the last set of minutes is October 17th of 2019. Any corrections, additions, anybody?
Nope.
No?
I'll move approval.
Thank you, Tim. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
I
Opposed? All right, carried.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
let me just check to make sure we covered
No,
everything
this one, Evan.
before we start the application. All right. The application this evening is Nelson Spring LLC. It's an amended site plan for satisfaction of a condition. It's at 45 Spring Street. And it's block 27.04, lot 20, zone CB. Normally, we begin our application by having our planner give a brief overview, sort of a summary of his report on this before we hear from the applicant. Mr. Laplace, do you want to start on that then, please?
Yes.
We need to swear you in. You're the only member of staff.
Yeah, if you could raise your right hand, Michael, do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth?
I do.
Plus one or affirm. Please state your full name.
Michael Laplace. Oh, okay. Chair Gunning, members of the board, before you this evening is a second amendment to a site plan that was originally approved by this board in 2018. It is the Nelson Glass Company. It's kind of known commonly as the Nelson Glass site. It's on Spring Street, on the southerly side of Spring Street, near the intersection with North Tulane, and not too far from our Spring Street parking garage. The site was originally approved for a 3-story expansion of the existing 1-story commercial building, which housed the Nelson Glass Company for many years, and an adjoining 2-story wooden residential structure. So that was approved in 2018 by this board, and then the applicant returned to the board last year to ask for relief from some conditions. The original intent of the use of the first floor commercial space was to have it remain to be occupied by Nelson Glass. Since that time, Nelson Glass had relocated out of Princeton and had decided that the new location worked better for the company. And they were asking that the first floor commercial space in the original Nelson Glass building be allowed to be occupied by retail or restaurant use. There were also some minor changes to the proposed upper stories, which would house 6 residential units, 1 affordable housing unit, and also the elimination of a parking space fronting on Spring Street, which in the old days or up till now was a driveway for Nelson Glass Company. And the board, in part of its approval of the amended site plan, felt that the conversion of this front parking spot into a plaza area or pedestrian-oriented area and entrance to the commercial space would be much nicer for the downtown business district. So the site plan, the amended site plan was approved earlier this year. The resolution was in January, and the applicant is back because there is a condition of the original approval, 18U, in your resolution, which stated that the original Nelson Glass commercial structure would be preserved and incorporated into the new project. It was a really important aspect of the design concept. And if that wasn't possible, the condition said that if there were structural problems or in any way the structure cannot be incorporated into the new development, the applicant would need to come back to the planning board and explain this. So that is why Nelson Spring is back before you this.
What happened? It froze?
It's not even on. Now I see Christopher.
I'm here.
Is now on, is now in. And I don't know if that knocked Michael out. Kerry?
No, Chris has been in for a bit.
Yeah, I've been here for a while.
Okay.
Maybe Chris can take over from,
Sure. I think Mike's pretty much covered what I was going to cover, but thank you. It's nice to see everyone. It's a little different for me. This is my first planning board meeting that's virtual, so I'm trying to get used to it. So as Michael indicated, for the record, I'm Christopher DeGrazia representing the applicant Nelson Spring LLC.
All right.
Um,
Mr. DeGracia,
oh.
do you have a group of people with you who will be presenting?
I do, and I believe Terry is going to bring them in as we call each witness, I believe.
I'm back.
Oh,
I don't know what happened, but
Well,
may I
Correct.
interject, Madam Chair? I have the responsibility of paying attention to the attendees, one of whom is the architect Josh Zinder for this project, and he has raised his hand.
Yes.
So I don't know whether, you want to
no,
make him a participant now or wait until we're a little further along. It's up to you.
I'll send an invitation now.
I'm sorry, Carrie?
I will send him an invitation. I don't know why he can't get in.
Oh, I can do that. I just didn't know whether, I'll do that.
Okay.
Okay, I just wondered whether we could swear in everybody from this group.
Madam Chair, can I ask a question first? I'm not sure when I broke out of the picture here. I'm not sure where it left off. Do I need to say anything else? I didn't realize I went out.
This will be a good memory test for the board. Does anybody want?
I think I was pretty much done, but.
Well, I think you were explaining how, as they started to do work, it was apparent that there were some structural problems. I think that's where you were.
Correct. And so the reason they're back before you this evening is to discuss why there's more reconstruction now involved in the project and their intent to reconstruct the original commercial section, the first floor section, in its original appearance.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's go back to Mr. DeGracia. Do you want to have all of your groups sworn in now, or do you want to wait?
It's really up to you. I think my two witnesses will be Josh Zinder and our structural engineer, Ronald. Has he called in?
Ron Venezia?
I'm not able to move them over, so I don't know.
I would be happy to. Do you mean Ron Venezia?
Attendees.
Correct.
Yeah.
So yes, there are several attendees. Ron Venezia and Taylor Kinsey.
Yep. She's also part of the team, and Robbie Nelson.
And Robbie Nelson, yes, there she is. For some reason, I don't have that function right now.
We could.
Now, Christopher, the people on your team, they're not appearing on the screen, just their names. Is it that they don't have their video on?
No, I think, yeah, probably. Either that or their
My video is on. This is Josh. I don't know if you can hear me or not.
We can
My
hear you,
video's on.
but we can't see you.
I don't know why. It's definitely on.
Yeah, mine
I
is
see your
too.
logo, Josh,
Bobby
but not
Nelson.
your face.
I believe mine is on
Part of
also.
the settings, I'm sorry.
Who just said that? Was that Ron who just said that?
Yeah, this is Ron Venezia.
Okay. Huh.
Usually there's a permissions thing that opens the video. Somebody allowed me to have audio, but no video.
Okay. So
Okay,
do
I'll
we
see if
know
I can
that-
do that.
I'm sorry, I lost my screens.
It's all right.
Ah. Okay, no question and answer.
Yeah. I think we were trying to follow the normal, is it a bricks and mortar planning board practice, which is usually
Josh is there.
to swear in the team and then as they appear to qualify them. Is that right, Jerry? That's.
Yeah. I mean,
So-
we could do it individually, but we usually do it in a group.
You can see Ron and we see Taylor.
Video settings.
Oh, there's Josh. We have everyone.
Yeah, so those are my two main witnesses. So we can probably get started. I don't know if Robbie's having a problem with her video.
I seem to be here. I was okay before.
Oh, we can hear you, but we can't see you.
I know, and my camera was working.
Robbie, on the bottom of your screen, if you toggle, is there?
Got it.
There you are.
There I am. Hello, everyone.
Hey.
Thank you.
Hi, Rob.
Hi.
Okay, why don't, I'm going to swear in the four witnesses. So if you could all raise your right hand. And Taylor, if you can unmute yourself. Okay. If you can raise your right hand, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth?
I do.
Yes.
So sworn or affirmed. If each of you could state your full name and spell your last name. Josh, why don't we start with you?
Sure. Joshua Zinder. My last name is Zinder.
Okay, then Ron.
Ronald Venezia, Venezia.
Okay, Taylor.
Taylor Kinsey Toms, TOMS.
Okay, and Robbie.
Robbie Nelson, NELSON.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Christopher, you want to take over?
Yeah, thank you. So as I was saying, this is not an application for development or change to the prior plan. We are not requesting any changes. This, as Michael has indicated, is a meeting to work on or satisfy a condition of approval. Because when we got into the construction, there was additional unexpected structural issues, deterioration, inadequate structural support. It required us to remove some additional material that we didn't expect to remove. Unfortunately, it included the front facade, which my client really wanted to save, but was unable to do so. So this is really about, shifting it as a reconstruction where you're going to have some new materials rather than some old materials. But when you take a look at it, and you'll see in a little bit, we'll have a short presentation, you take a look at the percentage, overall, it's really not a huge percentage to what was proposed to stay. And it was really focused and based on health and safety. So first, the entire building is not being demolished. And we'll go through and show you the additional amount. I think that's it. I think what I would like to do is turn it over to our architect, Josh Zinder, and he can go through the presentation and exhibits that clearly show you what's going to remain and what additional areas will be removed.
If somebody could give me screen sharing approval, then I can share my screen.
And Christopher, if you can qualify Josh.
Oh, yes. Well, Josh testified on the prior application. Yep. He qualified there. He's licensed in New Jersey, local architect. We hope that he could be accepted as a witness here as well.
Okay, so he's too modest to give his own qualifications, so you gave him forward?
If you like.
Yes.
Want to hear it again?
Sure, Josh.
Thank you. We accept them.
Okay.
Okay.
It says that the host disabled the screen sharing, and I lost my recording before, so I can't do anything here. I'm sorry. If David, can you reach out?
Give me access to screen share?
I can reach out to Mark, but Louise, can you help with the screen sharing, or is it only the host?
I am going to see. Hang on.
Screen share. Here we go.
I don't think that I can.
Okay.
But Carrie, you getting somewhere?
Okay, well, I've just changed something, so hopefully this will work. I have to get me out again. Oops. No, it still says it's disabled. I can't seem to.
Well, I guess if we can't get it to work, I could show the exhibits this way because I have a printout. I don't think it's perfect, but Josh, if we could do it that way. I have pretty large sheets.
Yeah. I mean, if we go on to speaker view, I happen to be on gallery view, we'll be able to get a pretty good view of what you're showing us.
Yeah, I just texted Mark DeShield to ask him to jump back in.
Okay.
So he may be able to solve that in a minute, but why don't we get started by, Chris, having you do that. Everybody put him on speaker view. And
It's pretty good, actually.
Okay.
I always come up with a backup plan.
This is interesting. Okay, as you may recall, Nelson Glass is a one-story modern industrial building on Spring Street. Our previous approval allowed for a 3-story addition of 6 apartments, one of which was affordable, and the building is designed to LEED Silver standards. The project is geared up, permits are issued, and it began construction. During the initial demolition work, inspections of the existing Spring Street facade indicated a risk of failure, which necessitated the removal of the facade for safety reasons, and is why we are here tonight. Next slide.
Okay, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to interrupt for a second. Now, these were all the presentation that was about 40 slides or pages or so that were.
Yeah, it was 37 pages. They were sent
on the website.
Okay, actually, I'm going to try to share my screen now.
Mark just said that the sharing function should work now.
There you go.
Yeah,
There you go.
All right.
Now we're going to mark, this will be marked electronically as Exhibit A1. That's what the record will show.
Excellent.
Okay.
Great.
Is the image reversed? I think it's, oh no, it's okay.
No, it should be.
It's
fine. Okay. So here you see the previous approved rendering. To be clear, our intent is to maintain this facade aesthetically. We had hoped to use the existing facade as it would have been more cost effective and was tied to the history of the building. In my March 31st letter to Michael Laplace, I explained that our required demolition would not impair our ability to maintain the design as it was previously presented and approved. The demolition was done in good faith in order to maintain the safety of the workplace and the site, and not how we would have preferred to proceed but required. The extent of the structural damage was not readily evident until the other portions of the structure had been removed. Later this evening, we will illustrate the original scope of the demolition and where we are now.
We'll mark this as A2.
But first, our structural engineer, Ron Venezia, will review his structural condition report. And Ron, I'll click, just let me know when you want to advance. So go ahead.
So,
So we need to qualify Ron first.
okay. Okay, so Ron Venezia, I'm a professional structural engineer registered in the state of New Jersey. And I have been a structural engineer for 30 years now.
Okay.
We would like to present him as an expert in structural engineering.
Right. We accept his qualifications.
And we'll mark what the exhibits, the letter that's on the screen is A3.
Okay.
I'm sorry, A2. No, A3. A3, yep.
Okay, so as Josh pointed out, there was some selective demolition done on the site. At that point, we were able to review some of the existing conditions that were previously proposed to remain in place. We did that review in February. I think it was February 12th, yeah. At that time, during our visual review of the elements, mainly the front facade, there were several structural deficiencies noted during our review. Those deficiencies consisted of cracked masonry.
Ron, should I go to the photographs?
Yeah, maybe we should do that. It'll probably be easier. The report is very general, the first couple pages. I can speak to the different items through the pictures. So if you recall the front elevation, what you're seeing here in this photo is the the corner where the front storefront met the overhead garage door. And at the top left corner of that, and the next photo, I believe we'll zoom in on that. There's a steel beam that's within that wall that's supporting the wall over top of that overhead door opening. That steel lintel is severely deteriorated, or was severely deteriorated. There was noted that the steel had started to delaminate, meaning it started to separate from itself, and that's due to corrosion. And what happens at that point when that happens is it expands. Okay, so a piece of steel that is maybe a 1/4 inch thick could expand up to almost 3/4 of an inch thick through that delamination process. And that's what we noted what was happening in this steel beam. So at the ends of that steel beam, you can see there's some discoloration of the brick, but also there's cracking that's occurring there. And Josh, if you advance to the next photo. Okay, this is at the opposite side. On the other side, you can see how the wall, the joint has opened up wide handing due to the delamination of the steel. So what was happening as a result of that is the wall not only cracked, it started to move, and it was displaced. If you go to the next photo, Josh. Okay, you can go to the next one. That's just close-up of that same condition. Okay, so this is on the opposite side of that wall, where if we were standing inside of the building, and you can see on the left side there, over top of the opening, you can start to see some of that steel beam there, and where it sits on the masonry wall on the opposite side. If you click the next photo, Josh. You can see some of the cracking that's occurring in the wall as a result of the steel being corroding. Next photo. This is that delamination that we're talking about. You can see how the steel is splitting apart. So these conditions sometimes can be repaired, but this was beyond the point where we felt it was repairable and still remain in a safe condition. There's about 4 to 5 feet of masonry that was sitting above this steel beam at the time, and the beam was spanning an opening that was approximately 13 feet wide. So that wall that was sitting above was in a very precarious position, and it was ready. We felt it was unstable, and the steel beam itself needed to be replaced. Click to the next photo, Josh. Okay, so now you can see this is the section of the wall that's sitting above the steel beam, and you can just see some cracking that's occurring, vertical cracking that's occurring above the steel beam in that wall. And next picture. And some more cracking that's occurring above that wall. So that's to the beam started to displace, and this cracking that we were seeing was a result of that. Next photo. Okay, so in addition to the portion over top of the overhead portion of the front facade that was at the storefront, okay, that had it was all glass, the storefront, and there were steel beams over top of the glass windows that were supporting masonry above that. There was about 2 feet of masonry sitting on these steel beams that you're seeing in this picture. Those steel beams were supported on posts at the front, but then also they were supported on the masonry walls at either end. The masonry walls at either end, one of them was the wall that we were just talking about that was in bad shape, needing to be replaced. So it was supporting not only its own weight, but also this portion of the storefront. So that necessitated having to take this down also. In addition to that, the sizes of the steel beams that are seen here, and also the steel posts, which you can just see the top of the steel post in this picture that the beams are sitting on, were substantially undersized for what we were proposing to build over top of this. So the combination of that, being it was undersized for what we wanted to do, and then also the fact that the masonry that was supporting it was in need of being replaced. The combination of the two necessitated taking that down also, so that we could build something back that was sufficiently structurally sufficient to support what we were building above it. Go to the next picture. That's a close-up of the steel post. There was some bending in the steel plates there that happened at some point during the life of the building. You can go to the next photo. Okay, so in addition to the front facade that we were just talking about, there's a portion of the building on the right side that is intended to remain, and that wall is a block wall that you're seeing in this photo here. And if you're standing at the front of the building looking at it on Spring Street, this is the right side of the building. Okay, so it's the block wall that runs from Spring Street to the back of the building, parallel to the neighbor. Okay, so what we noticed in our review is this wall here, and it's hard to see. I don't know if you're able to zoom in a little bit, Josh, but there's some cracking. It's like a stepped cracking that's occurring, and it starts at the corner where the yeah, right there. It starts in that corner where the steel lintel for the front comes in and extends all the way up, at a diagonal, probably about 4 or 5 feet into that wall. You can go to the next photo. Okay, so this is that same wall, but on the outside, looking from the outside. And that same crack can be seen on the outside also. You can see there's like you move up a little bit, Josh. Yeah, right in there. You can see that step that's happening. So it's not only cracked, but it's also displaced about 1/4 of an inch outward. And that, again, as a result of the movement that was happening within that masonry structure. What we had proposed from all this is that we would need to rebuild that front facade, and in addition, remove about 4 feet of that sidewall there and rebuild that due to that cracking and displacing. And then also the front storefront would have to be redone. That was pretty much it as far as the structural goes. If there were a way, I work on a lot of different types of buildings, and I've seen a lot of different types of problems in buildings, some of which are easily fixed on site, and some of them it's just not worth trying to fix. My first concern is always the safety of the building's occupants, not just in the final product, but also during construction. And these issues here presented me with a need to have something done there to remedy it.
Thank you.
Jerry, we're going to mark the exhibit a set of pictures A4.
I think those are actually part of A3. Aren't those attached, Ron, to your letter?
They were attached to my letter. Yeah.
Okay, so they're part of A3?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
So our civil engineering could not be with us tonight due to some connectivity issues, but he had given us, and we have submitted this, an amendment for his site plan. His site drawing has been amended to clearly indicate that the new wall will be located in exactly the same location as the old wall. So if we zoom in, you can see that note is here. The note says existing wall to be removed and reconstructed in place. And that's, so there's no change in any of the setbacks, no change in any of the locations or relationships in the front of the building to what previously existed to what will exist. This is the first floor plan of the original Nelson Glass building and the associated structures. To orient you, Spring Street is at the top of the page. And here's the house that's adjacent. And then this is what everyone considered the Nelson Glass building here. There's also a garage in the rear. This building illustrated the original scope of demolition as part of the approvals. The red were portions of the structure that were being removed, and the green was to remain. So the entire back portion of the building, both the garage and the original structure, were to be removed as part of the previous approvals. In addition, this area in gray had to be removed to allow for, as you may recall from our original presentation, we're required by code to have a 10-foot wide passageway for our entry. So all the area you see in red was originally part of the demolition. So this slide illustrates the wall that we are talking about. So it's this wall here that used to have the roll-up garage door, and it's this area here that had the storefront. And you see it here in orange. Here you see the site as it is today. Sorry, technical issue here. As it is today. And here you see the location of where the facade used to be. This is the section that had the roll-up door in it, and this is where it returned, and then it returned back here. This is another view of that same area. And then this shows where the roll-up door was formerly. Here you see another view. This is looking toward the side. And here you see where the entryway used to be. Here you can see the elevation of the original building overlaid with the outline of the new structure and the section of the building that was originally required demolition. So this is where we were originally cutting the building to allow for that 10-foot wide gap. So the remainder of this had originally, we planned to maintain it. This is the Nelson Glass building, the Spring Street facade, as was approved, the design of which we intend to maintain. Here's the approved elevation of the area that was demolished. We had hoped to repair and maintain this. This is what we expect the elevation to look like when it is completed. So it will look just as we had intended during the approvals. Even before the demolition, it was critically important for us to match the existing brick, which we were able to do. We were actually really quite happy that we were able to match it so well. Matching the color and the heat flashing of the original brick. And this is what we will be using on the entire building. And here you see the approved sample. Here's the elevation of the original building, the view. And here is the project as previously presented and approved. And this is what the building will look like upon completion. This portion down here that had the original storefront and the portion 2 feet of brick up here and the 4 feet of brick up here, we had hoped to keep, but you know, we erred on the side of safety. And after Ron, the structural engineer, provided the notice on it, the general contractor did the removal immediately in order to maintain a safe site. And that's not the path that we had hoped to go with this, but this is where we are. And our intent is to make the building look exactly as it was previously approved. Thank you for your time tonight.
Just a quick question. All these slides that you're showing, they were all part of Exhibit A1, correct? Presentation material.
Yes, they were part of the presentation that we had submitted already to Kerry.
Right, and which we've marked as A1. Okay.
Questions?
Juan, did you want to wait until all the witnesses are finished before we open it to the board and to the public?
No, I think it makes more sense to have the board ask questions as we go along, so
I think we're finished with our presentation, actually.
Oh, okay. Mhm.
that's it. Well, let me ask a question. The structural steel that's left on the site, are you reusing that or is that just there?
Yes, this structural steel is being, let's see if I can get a better view of it. The structural steel is being kept, except for the portion, I think it's about 6 to 8 feet at the ends. This steel will have new columns and new supports underneath it. And we illustrate that here. So here you see the steel coming across.
Right.
And that's going to be re-supported by the building. The ends of that steel will be removed at the appropriate time once it has new bearing. And that's what was originally intended.
Madam Chair, Mr. Cohen has a question.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. It's a minor question, but the brick sample board that you showed has a different color grout, or appears to. I assume you're staying with the lighter tan grout that's in the existing building?
Yeah, absolutely. The grout, we are matching the original. We have pieces of that. It's going to be the same sandy color. The board we have here actually has no grout in it. It's just the bricks.
Okay.
But yes, 100%. The intent is to match the original sandy grout color.
Anyone else? And there are no further witnesses for this application. Is that right?
That's correct. Like I said, it's not really a change to the elevations. It's really just here to satisfy the condition in the original resolution by providing testimony of why we had to remove more than what we expected to remove from the original plan.
Okay, well, let me open this up then for public questions and so on. Louise?
Just quickly, this is Louise. Do we want to go back to gallery view and get out of presenter view, or does that matter?
Well, if there are questions that might refer to the drawings, we can go back to the drawings to help illustrate that.
Mm-hmm.
So
at this time, there are no attendees who have raised their hand to speak.
Now, how do they raise their hand? I'm looking at the participants panel, and for the panelist, it does say under the for the panelist, one of the options is raise hand, but for the attendees, it doesn't say that.
They should have the option to raise their hand.
Yeah, I see.
Chair, oh, excuse me. We do have a, I'm going to unmute Ms. Cherry. I'm sorry, unmute, yep. And should I make her a panelist, promote to panelist for her comments?
Yes.
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 Okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Kip, you could, if you could, okay, you just did.
There I go. This may be a past question, but since we're talking about an amendment, but I just thought I would bring it up regarding parking, because I thought that the amendment included this information regarding eliminating one space. So I thought maybe parking was still an appropriate question, but it may not be. So I just wanted to ask about availability of parking.
So that was a prior application where we came in after initial approval. I don't have the date in front of me, but we approached the board to remove a on-site parking space, and that was done and approved. As part of that application, I would say that we did create a new off-site parking space in the front of the building for public use, I guess, with the meter system. So although we lost one on-site, we were able to put a curb cut and create a new parking space off-site. So
Okay.
And that was already a separate application. This is not, this one's not relevant to the parking at all.
Yeah, there's really no amendment to the approval that's being sought. It's simply, they're trying to show that they've satisfied the condition that Michael referred to earlier, which is which we've construed as if there's demolition that's going to be done, come in, give us testimony explaining why you're doing this.
That's fine. I just wanted to bring it up in case it was still relevant, but I understand that's a past issue. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And thank you for speaking so that we could confirm that the public had the ability to
I know, this is an experiment.
I appreciate that.
Kip, can I ask you?
Reassuring.
Kip, can I ask you a quick question?
Yes.
So, how did you raise your hand? Was
The little icon at the bottom, and I clicked on it, and it said your hand is raised.
okay? Yeah.
Can I just quickly ask Kip, because I was in a practice call this afternoon. I think for attendees, the raise hand icon is in the center bottom, not in the participant panel. So it's slightly different than what we had in our instructions.
I
And I'll update the instructions for next time.
Okay.
And also, I think there's an alternative way to do it. I started to put a question in the Q&A, which you would have seen also in your Q&A panel. So there are two different ways to, also I could raise my hand visually. So there are three ways that a person can indicate they want to say
David,
something.
maybe you should say something about Q&A and.
Yeah, I would like to actually. So I'll respond to both of those comments. Kip, while you're correct technically that Q&A would be a possible way to get our attention, we are trying to reserve that for technical difficulties and have all testimony come orally. And then the other comment is raising your hand physically doesn't work until you've already been promoted from an attendee to a panelist, because we can't see you until you're a panelist. So the preferable way is to raise one's hand, but you're right, it's a good backup to, if you can't figure out for other members of the public where the control is to raise your hand, there's always the option of using Q&A,
right?
The Q&A function.
But it would just be, as Dave indicated, where it's really not working, where you're raising your hand, because we're trying to emulate an actual meeting as closely as we can. What you want to do when a member of the public, as well as witnesses, speak, that the board members can see that person, as opposed to somewhat disembodied Q&A, which is kind of equivalent to a member of the public coming in and reading a statement from a neighbor, which we, as Kip, as you well know, we've always precluded.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I do think that being able to see the person and have their own voice is a good way to go, a better way to go than some alternatives.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other attendees who want to speak? Louise, says there's.
At this time, I do not see any other raised hands.
Okay. Well, seeing none, then let me close the public portion of the meeting, and maybe we could have some board discussion on this and then vote. Did you want, Mr. DeGracia, did you want to sum up, or you feel that
I mean, the purpose of today was to hear from our structural engineer and to provide testimony as to why we had to do what we did. And I think that stands on its own.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Board members, are there any further questions, comments, anyone? If you're speaking, I can't hear you.
I'll just pipe in and say, I found the photos of the delaminating steel to be pretty convincing that that something needed to come down there. So just throwing in a little bit of architectural experience to support the applicant.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Well, if there's no further discussion, would somebody like to make a motion? Or,
Yeah.
Please, I will move that we accept that the applicant has met the conditions of the resolution.
And it's presented sufficient testimony explaining why they did the demolition that they did.
Yes, that too. Thank you.
was there a second for Louisa's motion?
I'll second.
Thank you, Owen. Anything else, anybody? Okay, if not, Carrie, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Would you like to call the roll on this one?
Ms. Capizoli,
Yes.
Mr. Cohen,
Yes.
Mr. McGowan,
Yes.
Mr. O'Donnell,
Yes.
Mr. Quinn,
Yes.
Ms. Dax,
Yes.
Mr. Texarney,
Yes.
Mrs. Wilson,
Yes.
and Mrs. Gunning.
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you for your time, everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We really appreciate the board and professionals and staff, putting this all together to go through this virtual process. I know it was not easy, but we really do appreciate Princeton really stepping up and, moving forward like this. Thank you.
Thank you.
We appreciate your willingness to be guinea pigs.
Always. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. All right. David, I think.
It's
we
my
maybe-
time of the meeting.
Yes, it is.
Move to adjourn.
Move to adjourn. Hey, who said that?
Who seconded that?
I did. Tim
Gentleman,
Quinn.
the gentleman from Jugtown.
Yes. Thank you.
All those in
Distinguished
favor?
gentlemen.
I'm glad I've been recognized.
Aye.
All
Aye.
those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, and thank you very much, everybody.
Thank
Hey,
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Take care, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.